Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review ABBA's 1981 album, The Visitors. This was their last album before they broke up, and until 2021 it was their last album ever. Last original album ever. It's decent, but this is really the album where ABBA sort of dips into not great songs, unfortunately, for most of the album. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks that added to my playlist. 4 out of 9, 1 under half. I think this is the only ABBA album where most of the tracks didn't make it onto my playlist. The issue with this album is that the songs just aren't as good as their previous work. Most of the songs sound like weird amalgamations of pop with some musical and classical-esque album elements, sort of like sounds a bit like a musical song or like a more classical piece. The songs generally sound more spooky and slow as opposed to upbeat. And then overall, the album has a very sad, emotionally sort of distraught feeling, and it doesn't really work well with most of the songs. Even the big hits here, Head Over Heels and One of Us, are slower and not really, it doesn't work as well tonally than some of their other big hits. So that's kind of the main problem with this album. My favorite, there were no singles released before the album. My favorite song here is definitely the opening title track, The Visitors. It's really the only track on the album which manages to successfully merge ABBA's sort of pop sound, pop disco sound, with the dark emotional style that the album wants to take. Except for maybe Two for the Price of Run, track 3 on side 2. But that one's just too goofy to be taken seriously. It's a very weird song on this album. But I definitely think The Visitors hits it in a way that is a lot, meshes it in a way that a lot of the album fails to do. Now, I rank this album second to last out of all of ABBA's albums, pretty much based on the fact that all of the other albums have more good songs on them, in my opinion. Plus, most of ABBA's albums have better sounds overall. And while The Visitors has a very interesting tone, it doesn't come together well at all, both on an individual track and overall as an album. In both situations, even in the individual tracks, the sound doesn't really mesh with the tone. And then overall with the album, it doesn't really work well either. So yeah, that's why I rank this lower. Plus, the songs are just not as good. That's a major factor. The only album which ranks lower than The Visitors is ABBA's 2021 reunion album, Voyage, which is acceptable, but you'd kind of be hard-pressed to really call Voyage good. So, The Visitors, I'd say, is still got some really good songs on it. Well, even the really good songs are still only good, and most of the songs on The Visitors is not great. So this album obviously doesn't take my top spot from 1981. That goes to The Police's Ghost in the Machine, which basically goes for a similar style as The Visitors, but does it a lot better, in my opinion, possibly due to the difference in styles for the bands. But that's definitely the better album from that year. Next up is the album I mentioned, ABBA's 2021 reunion album, Voyage. It's acceptable. It's not embarrassing for them. They didn't really flub it. But there's really nothing great here, in my opinion. I don't think there's anyone that really loves this album, and I don't think this is ever going to be somebody's favorite ABBA album. So stay tuned for that, and stay minty.